What's going on, everyone? This is Eric Seekers with the SIU Career Development Center, and today we are going to be talking about tips that you can do to prepare yourself for the interview. First thing you need to do is research. You need to understand some of the questions that are going to be asked of you so that you can build some answers. Now, you don't want to be too rehearsed, but you do want to have an understanding of how you want to answer each question. That being said, you need to know yourself so that you can answer these. You need to know what skills you have, what experience you have as it relates to the position, what are your career goals. You need to understand how this job application showcases your skills and can be applied to the position you're applying for. Make sure you dress appropriately, make sure everything fits. This is an issue that we've seen time and time again. You want to dress for the job, so you're trying to demonstrate that you are a professional in this case. Now, these are some things that you should take to the interview. Take extra copies of your resume, your reference list, and a list of questions you have for the interviewer. Having a portfolio of your performance pieces is also applicable if you have a portfolio. This is important because you want to be able to reference your resume while you're giving your answers. And if you're referencing off of your own resume and you have to give it away to someone that's there, then it's going to be harder for you to interview. Now, having extra copies is always a good thing. Also, something that you're going to need to bring: breath mints to make sure that you don't leave a bad impression. Extra money for parking and public transportation. You never know if you're going to have to pay $5 to park in the building and then go into your interview. Have a nice notepad and a business folder with a good pen. I recommend having a good Padfolio. Just looks professional if you're writing in there. And then if you have questions, you can directly write down the interviewer's answers so that you can reference those when you're considering taking the position. What not to take to an interview. Now, gum. You don't want to be chewing gum while you're there. You want to make sure your cell phone is off. You don't have your iPod in listening to music. You want to make sure that you don't have coffee or soda or anything like that. Make sure your family and your friends are not at the interview with you. This makes it look like you're not prepared for the interview. Note here, if you have a lot of piercings, it might be good to leave some of your rings at home. Earrings only is a good rule. Make sure you cover your tattoos if you have anything inappropriate. This is important because your interviewer might not be as comfortable with tattoos as you are. This is getting better in the career field. They're becoming more and more common. But you don't want to get an interviewer that is very old-fashioned and sees your tattoo and immediately writes you off of an application. Here are tips specifically for virtual interviews. Make sure you check your camera and mic before your interview. You don't want to be the person that gets on the interview and then they can't hear you because your mic isn't working, or they can't see you because your camera isn't working. Make sure you give yourself plenty of time to troubleshoot any issues that you have and get them fixed before you have your interview. Check your background. You want to make sure that you do not have anything too cluttered or inappropriate. Dress the same as you would for an in-person interview. This is important. This doesn't mean that they're not going to see your legs. The important part here is, what if you bring up an example of your work in your interview? They ask to see the example during your interview. You might have to get up and go get that example and then show it to them. So you want to make sure that you're dressed properly from head to toe. Familiarize yourself with the platform that you're using for the interview. Zoom operates differently than Skype, which operates differently than Teams, and so on and so forth. You need to understand before you go into the interview what software you'll be using, and then take some time to practice and learn how it works so that you can demonstrate it effectively and show that you are keeping up with the modern world. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure that you're looking into common questions for your field. There's also common questions that interviewers have that they'll ask you. A very common one is, what are 3 strengths that you have for this position? That's really easy to answer when you factor in your past experience and your past skills and how they directly apply to the job you're applying for. Practice answering questions out loud. Common interview formats: screening or telephone interviewing, personal interviewing, group or panel interviews, meal interview. That's like going out to lunch or on dinner with your interviewer. On-site interviews, behavior-based interviews. Plan ahead. This is very important when you're in a new location that you've never heard of or been to before. Lay out your clothes the night before so that you're not delayed and getting there late. Have directions ready to go with your estimated driving time. If it says that it's going to take 20 minutes to get there by car, then you might want to factor in more time depending on what time of day your interview is. If it's early in the morning, you might run into rush hour. If it's in the afternoon, evening, you might have less traffic, so you need to factor those things in. Set your alarm early. Avoid caffeine, which can increase anxiety for interviewing. Make sure you arrive early to the interview, because you could show up to one location and they could tell you that it's the next building or a different floor. These are all things that have happened to people. Make sure you have time to deal with any of those obstacles that get in your way.